he was paroled. So during that time we had our ups and downs, but the training was really good, and the idea is to let these people know that there is hope and that they can make it. Many of them get so discouraged, you know, when they first start out, because they can't get a job because they're an ex-con, they don't have any ID, they don't have any driver's license. All these things are just barriers that are kind of difficult. So with my mentee, I gave him one scripture. No, Jeremiah 29:11.
Yes. Okay.
Jeremiah 29:11 fits right in with your theme today. It says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. These are plans for good and not for evil, so that you will have hope for the future. And so, no matter what happened, I said, we can get through this. Let's just, you know, keep going in the right direction, and it'll turn out good. And so I'm very proud that he is finally paroled. Thank you.
My name is Diane Hogan, and I have been in and around the prison ministry almost 7 years now. 8 years ago I had a stroke, and I had to start learning everything from scratch. So I realized at that time that if I'm going to do something, I have to do it now, and I have to do it with my community. And what is it that I have an abundance of, that someone could use it? And I always had hope, because every day I had hope that I would make my next words sound well enough that someone could hear me. So for about 2 years it took me to start talking again with people and them understanding me. And so I went into the prison ministry because it was very necessary for me to work with the people who needed hope, instead of people having their own hopes, and their hopes were off over there, but I needed to do something around my community. And so I offered them alternatives to something they'd not thought of in a while, and that was to be comfortable, talk story with God, and get a new outlook on life. Because the one that they have right now is not the best for their families, their in-laws, the people who has to work with them, and then of course the next generation that needs to have the hope for them. And so I used all of that just to talk to the girls, give them different ideas to think about. And then when we came into the Hope Services, I was so excited. It was like, okay, now I can, instead of having a group of girls who are just kind of listening, blinking, and wondering where I'm coming from, I can have people that I can help through the year. And that just sounded like a wonderful thing for me. And my husband and I were so happy to come back into it with Hope Services. And Hope Services was very happy to have us. And so it was just a two-way street of good friendships coming together and helping our community. And that's why we are here, and that's what we've done.
Oh.
My name is Elaine. I'm a retired nurse from Hilo Toastmasters. I've been volunteer with Hope Services for about 4 months. I have not had a mentee just yet, but I've been sponging it up, and so I'm here today to sponge and to learn all I can, so that when that time comes, that Happy is able to give me a mentee, that I will be polished, sponged up, so I can squeeze some hope into people. And so my hands are open for this project. It's intense. I'm not going to tell you it's not, because I'm scared to death of a traffic ticket. And I cry at every one of our little get-togethers, because I cannot imagine at this time of my life that I'm in a position that I want to see people come out of prison, know God, get their lives cleaned up, and be just a little bit of giving that a hope. And so I thank you that I've been able to be with you today, and it is a challenge, but there is a need. There is a need, and every one of us in this room can meet that need in just a little way. If it's just a prayer, if it's just, as this brother did, quote a scripture, you never know whose lives you touch. So you folks have touched my life today.
Again, my name is Happy. I'm the program coordinator for the mentoring program, Hope Services Hawaii. I'm just going to take a minute for my introduction, but I need everybody's help and participation here. If I could get everybody to close their eyes and bow their heads for a moment, okay? And then, if you would raise your hand, if you've ever been incarcerated before in your lifetime for anything, show of hands. How about a show of hands if you've ever had a family member incarcerated? Okay, keep them up. And then a show of hands if you've ever had a relative or a close friend incarcerated before. Okay, thank you very much for humoring me, and it's pretty much consistent in every group I do. Some of the facts that I want to cover in the fact that we've got 6,000 current inmates in the Hawaii State's correctional system right now. What's important to understand is that 95% of those folks are going to be released back into the community. And my premise is, doesn't it make sense for us to go ahead and take the steps necessary to help prepare those returning citizens, okay, back into a transition, back into their families and their lives, as well as the community. So we here at Hope Services wholeheartedly believe that mentoring this returning citizen population for their successful recovery can reduce recidivism and make our communities a much safer place to live. Thank you.
Oh.
I'm Vicki. One of the things that is touching to me is to hear real stories so well spoken. To enter into this field is remarkable and brave. Oh, I'm going to cry. I'm really impressed, and it's a blessing to all of us to hear how speech and how moving forward in the community through being able to explain things, tell our own stories, it actually is important to be able to explain how you got somewhere and what you're doing. Yes, it's great for us to meet you and see it in action. Oh, it's against everybody's honor. My background is, I would say it involves naturally kind of program development, and it isn't my job. I like to putter around my house. One of the things that really touched me, though, is from the very first speaker, just showing what it feels like to feel hope and feel faith, and what influence that must be. I have myself background in prison in a funny way. You saw me raise my hand, not for myself, but for a family member, not my husband. And I'm the daughter of someone who was driven daily, almost weekdays, through the Chino prison, low security prison in Chino, California. My father was a counselor there. And as soon as he heard about sentencing consultant, that was 30 years later after prison work, he became a sentencing consultant and had the law number that allowed that in California on his license plate. He was trying to give people the kindest, most healing, most survivable organizations. And that's my family background. And it's always been on my mind, and it's all of our mind about what do we do. It's not that easy. I personally worked briefly with Mara Meyer, a university professor, providing meditation services inside the women's closet. So I only touched a little bit. I could not help but read a little research that about recidivism, that re-entering after successfully being released. And I notice there's a lot of variety in what happens with programs. And I think that how you do it and how you are is really important. So I myself feel moved by all four of you. So I think that's a really good start. And being of the program-oriented program development streak, just ideas seem to come to me. I have thoughts of everything. I won't go into them time-wise. I have ideas about, well, how could we get University of Hawaii, Hilo, interested in weaving in with you and getting some numbers for you, and seeing how do we categorize it and so on. Being aware of Starbucks and their social improvement activities. I have been, was really impressed when Starbucks creator said he grew up in public housing. And he's been a big supporter of this thing called, just learned about it, it's called Ban the Box. You folks probably know all about that. It means that you don't put on your initial paper application for a job, have you ever been convicted of a crime or gone into jail or prison? They're trying to move away, he's encouraging people in the business world to move away from that. So they're chosen tentatively, and then, only then are they asked to figure out, they want to know probably what kind of crime. Finally, from just thinking about ecumenical approach, do you know other people of other religious backgrounds who are offering their religious perspective? I was thinking you guys would be great, even to me, in a rainbow of flavors of spirituality.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Sarah. I do not have a degree in anything, but Reiki did. I am very pro-public, community-oriented person. I've started Pop Warner football teams, and I've carried it all the way through the and on with the boards throughout the United States. And the best part of that is when we've had these children come and then they end up incarcerated. But through that, I have nudged my husband he's on the work furlough program. So we do a lot of that, and through his business, I can't do it through mine because mine's sporadic. However, I go in and talk to the women on Thursday nights through our religious group that is set up to go in and do that. I would like to see more of, because we get a hands-on, it's very interesting when you hear them speak in a work setting, and you really get their emotions of what's going on in their life. And I don't think my husband, no offense, I know you are, but they're not very in tune with emotions. They kind of just bounce it back, and especially on a construction site. So I would like to see a more positive, other than a parole person coming and interacting with them, I would love to have more interaction that way per se, if we can do that. And just carry on, maybe there's a next step farther that we can do as business owners, as whatever, because we do have some that have gone and gotten off, parole, and we still have them, and they're one of the finest employees because we work very well with their paroles and stuff. So that's all I got to say about that.
I'm Sharon. I believe that we have to decide what kind of a society we want to be a part of. I come from Texas. Their attitudes are much more stringent than many other places. We have to decide if we believe that if someone makes a mistake, they are to be punished from here on out, or if they must merely face the consequences, which is the incarceration, and then have a chance to change. We have to decide that. And there are many people who believe the other side. there are things that I wonder about, like an offender losing his or her ability to vote. That's a big one, and then I'm glad you did your research on that. We don't forgive. We don't forget. We simply think of them as a number, and they're on their own when they come out. We don't consider the fact that that makes them more of an enemy to us. Because if they can't succeed, what are they going to do? They're going to go back to what they knew before, the only thing that they knew, a way to make money, which is in a criminal act. I don't approach this from a religious point of view. Some people do. And I know Happy addresses different organizations in different ways because of that. But basically, it's simply, what's right? What do you believe in? What does your heart tell you? Does your heart tell you that you want to be kind to people, that you want to help people? And if it does, this is the place for you to be.
I'm NJ Moses, and I'm the last to speak. Connection, compassion, and contribution. We're all connected. We live on this island, and we can feel the connection. We have family members we're super connected to. But when you think of the people who live on this island, we're all a family, the big ohana, as they say. Fortunately, my daughter hasn't committed any crimes, or anybody in my family hasn't committed any crimes. And I was a little bit shocked and very unaware of the things that Happy told me when we met for coffee about how many people are in trouble and what they were in trouble for and what's happening to them and how they're, some of them destined to go back into prison. This was all new to me. I think that we need, as a society, to show true compassion. And how do we show that true compassion? We show it by contributing. And if we can contribute to Hope Services and helping people who are coming out of prisons regain a beautiful life, that's great, by just advertising. If we can individually help out by actually getting into the mentor-mentee community, that would be the best. But I have to tell you, it's a big commitment. We adopted our daughter, and that was a big commitment. And I kind of see this as an adoption, where you're nurturing and you really care. And I'm wondering, am I going to be aligned with a person that I can work with, and that will they like me? And a lot of times, I don't look, I'm not the same color skin as somebody else. And maybe there might be something, maybe I won't understand. So I'm thinking about that. What I need is more information, and we need the community to have a better awareness. Thank you.
I want to thank each of our panelists for their introduction and overview of the program. At this point, I would like, oh dear, the audience, I'll get back to that. What happens when you try to be moderator and videographer simultaneously. The idea here is to increase the awareness with the rest of the community of this program so that people in the community and perhaps even globally can step up to the plate and lend a hand at whatever capacity they are able to. So, whoever has a question about how it helps the community, how they can help, and some of the challenges facing ex-offenders, please have your questions ready and direct them to a particular panelist, and we will continue with the program. Happy has a question.
Question, I was under the understanding we were gonna do a minute introduction and then a 4-minute presentation.
Yes, and
I haven't even touched my
yours
first.
hasn't even started.
And I'm sure it will answer many of the
Why
questions.
don't we do that, Happy? Why don't I give you your 4 minutes right now, since I wasn't as clear as I probably should have been? And we'll do that, and then we'll go to the questions. Is that okay?
Fantastic. Okay. Let me talk
Thank you,
about the
Tex.
problem a little bit first and identify that. For you. Today, in the United States, we represent 5% of the world's population. Interesting fact is, we also obtain 25% of the world's prison population. That's staggering to understand. Approximately 1 in 3 Americans have been arrested for something or another and involved in the correctional system. In Hawaii, the cost of housing an inmate is $140 a day. And when you times that for the whole year on those who we have incarcerated in the state, that's $40 billion a year that the taxpayers are responsible for. Okay. Now, I want to bring up about the negative impact on the families in the sense that there's 2.7 billion children in the United States that have been incarcerated. Many of them too. And just a little, the ramifications of that. Many of them end up repeating the cycle themselves. 2/3 of those families end up experiencing financial hardships where they can't even afford their housing, let alone food, once a parent is removed from the family. Currently in the state of Hawaii, the recidivism rate is about 57%. That means they get released and within 3 years they return back to prison, most of the time for probation and parole violations. In a statement that the U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said, she said, quote, "In order to truly make our communities safe, we must make sure that the people who have served their time and paid their debt to society are able to fully and productively engage in the society where through education, employment, or some other constructive means." Okay? Many of the offenders that are labeled with felony convictions are doomed to pay consequences that last their entire lifetime. Okay. Just a little bit of the challenges with the population that we're working on with coming out of Halinani. Halinani is a work furlough program, and in order to be furloughed, they need to obtain full-time employment. Many times that's 2 or 3 part-time jobs. They need to develop a savings account of $2,000 so that they can transition into a rental. And they also have to identify a clean and sober, safe living environment. That is the key for them, for their freedom, to experience community custody status. Okay. Some of the issues that they're facing that they have to overcome as far as challenges. Most of them don't have any identification because they've been incarcerated so long, their driver's licenses have expired. Okay? They go down to the police station and get their ID and they're told, you need a social security number. Well, they don't have their social security card, so they go to the social security office to get their social security card and they're told they need an ID. Okay? And how that can impact their, things for employment. They've got no transportation. I don't know how many folks, travel Highway 11 in from Puna or Mountain View or anything, but that long row of bicycles that men are riding into town, that's their transportation. And they're required to experience, go to their job interviews, okay, drenched or full of, sweat and things like that. Okay. Most of them have poor work histories. Because they were incarcerated for so long, and many of them, when they were in juvenile detention centers, they've got a lack of education in the sense that 2 out of 5 inmates don't have a high school diploma. Let me just whip through these. 1 in 6 has mental health issues. 6 in 10 has substance abuse issues. many were homeless prior to incarceration. They have no family or social support. They've got poor life skills. Many of them still suffer from cognitive thinking errors from being incarcerated so long. Not to mention the legal, overwhelming legal debts and fines that they have to pay. Okay, in closing, why mentoring? Because we know it works from past programs that we've participated in. Okay, showed that there's been a 40% decrease in recidivism. And that saves you, the taxpayer, money, and it saves the families, and it saves our community. There's some personal benefits to mentoring that I think came through here. Okay? Number one, in making the commitment to be a mentor, you have the awareness that you stepped up and you cared and made a positive difference in someone's life. You also experience increased awareness into how to develop personal relationships because we offer 16 hours of mentoring training on how to do relationships titled Releasing Human Potential. Bottom line, we get to make the Big Island a safer place, okay, for all of us. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Happy, for all your information and expertise. We will be listing you at the end of this video as the contact person for anybody who was watching that wants to participate in the program.
Thank you very much.
I personally believe that when we make the world or our community a better place, it inherently affects our quality of life. So it behooves all of us to do what we can to help our fellow person and be compassionate, understand they might have a problem. And so if we can help them through that, we're going to strengthen our own inner selves in whatever way we can. I really appreciate you sharing so much information and for all of you being here today. So this is the time when the questions from the audience can come forward directed at any of our panelists today, and they can answer them for you. So who would like to ask a question about something? Let's start with Joanne, who we haven't heard from yet. Joanne, why didn't you come up here so you can be in the video?
Welcome. Thank you,
Joanne.
Happy, you mentioned that there are 16 hours of training for any mentor, but I'd like to hear from Eileen to describe what that training is and how it has helped you so far, even though you don't have your mentee yet.
Well, as I said, it was very challenging. We went to Kapiolani, the prison area, and we went actually on the property and, secured our car, which was kind of exciting because I didn't know where to park, and, it had its fun things. And then, of course, we had a speaker there from the prison, and he spoke. We stayed, I think that was 8 hours, I'm not sure it was 8 hours. And what I learned from it, wow, I could go on and on. But the one thing I did learn from it is people like myself that hasn't had, that experience that this brother's had with the mentee, it's almost like you feel like you're pregnant and you're birthing, you're going into birth, and you think, oh, what is this? I am birthing, So my experience with the prison people there, and the guy that was doing all the talking, everybody I met, I just honestly felt like I was, and I still feel that way. Like I learned so much from those 8 hours that I could almost just write volumes, because the information you receive, it's informative about the community, about prisoners, how one part of society, they're like, well, why should we take care of these people that broke the law? They deserve to be in prison, But on the other hand, if you want a good society to live in, like this lady brought to the table, then you got to do your part. You got to step up. You got to have something that you can give back. So from Hope Services and the 8-hour training, it was very, very intense, and then there was a huge test you take. And I just thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail every one of these. So then he let us take it again, and then I felt powerful, because I remembered all the ones I got wrong. But honestly, to take on a challenge like this, in my heart, it's being pregnant. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, you're gonna feel you're birthing something, and it's bigger than you are, and you don't know what it's gonna look like when it gets all born and put in place, but you have that something inside of you. You know you're pregnant, you know you're gonna give life to something, but you have to hold on to that hope. So, you know, Hope Services have given me hope to think that I could even get through those 8 hours of that unbelievable challenge, but I'm real thankful about it. That's a lot I've learned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent answer, and thank you, Joanne. What other questions do we have from the audience? Cece, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a seat.
I actually have 2 questions. One is a data question. What is the demographics that you're looking at that is part of your program?
We serve the entire big island community, where folks transition to, you know, Kona or other parts of the island. All of our folks are referred to us by Hilo
What
and
age
case
groups?
managers. Pardon?
What age is the whole?
The
Do
age
you have a
ranges
large-
from about 26 to the oldest gentleman that was incarcerated for 36 years was 72 years old.
And how many would you say a third or what percentage are young people under the age of 30? And how many would you say would be 30 to 50?
I would say it's
whatever
pretty
grade
close
that
to
you want.
50-50.
50-50.
Under,
50%.
and the thing is, ever since the 1980s, get tough on crime, the maximum minimum sentencing laws, those type of things, most of the folks in there are non-violent, very low offender drug users, over 80% of them. And the problem with that is when we read in the newspaper on how our governor is going to release 4,000 prisoners, okay? The problem is those folks that have mandatory minimum sentencings cannot be released. So folks that actually, you know, had some more severe crimes are being released before them because of the mandatory sentencing laws that are currently on the books.
When I first saw the demographic question, my personal instinct is if we can help the young people get out. But then as you're speaking, I think of the person who's been incarcerated 30 years, what a waste of life. You know, it would be great if we could help that person get back involved in the community in some way. My second question is then, as a candidate for the Hope Services, how are they chosen? How are the mentors chosen?
Basically, I recruit from the community, the faith-based groups, the business community, coming doing presentations like this. When somebody identifies that they have a heart or a calling for this, what I do is I put them through an orientation. I believe in informing everybody on everything that they need to know, so there's not going to be any surprises. Then I conduct a personal inventory with them to know their heart, to know what they come and have to offer an individual mentee that's transitioning. I also do the same with the mentees, okay? So by the time I get to the mentee and I'm doing their interview, they'll say something that all of a sudden, oh, Dave would be perfect for that. And that's typically how the matches go. So, you know, the orientation, the interview, we also do monthly support meetings. The Logans here have experienced most of the 16-hour trainings that we cycle through that's developed to meet the mentor-mentee relationship at the various stages of the relationship. Because it starts off very superficial, okay, if you can imagine, there's no trust there yet, okay, and what we do is we learn how to do intimate relationships. By the time they're paroled, which is anywhere from 9 months to a year, That's when the mentor-mentee official relationship is over. Many times, I've done mentor-mentee from 4 years ago that's still sending me obnoxious text messages. It's been okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from our studio audience? Somebody who would like to participate? Chandra.
I wanted to know if the mentors have to pick up the mentees in their own vehicle, or do they meet them somewhere? How does that work out?
Whatever is agreeable between the mentor-mentee. Got to keep in mind, most folks don't have transportation, so to say, hey, meet me in town at 6 o'clock on Thursday, it's not real practical. So many times the mentee asks the mentor when they're ready, okay? And it's a choice the mentors have if they want to provide transportation or not. I've had it work both ways, where, you know, they can work things out and just meet somewhere. But typically also the mentors are encouraged to introduce their mentees to various activities. Our goal for being here this afternoon is for our mentees to come check out Toastmasters to see if this would be something that they would be interested in getting their mentees involved with, because, well, we all know the benefits of being involved in Toastmasters. So what we as mentors want to do is expose our folks to as many positive influences that they can, because you never know what's going to click for someone. I had an inmate that was a mother, and she was working to get her children back, and I hooked her up with another lady that was just an avid PTA goer, you know? And the mentor invited her mentee, hey, I've got this PTA gig, you know, next Tuesday, would you like to come check it out? Sure. Okay. This lady has become a PTA Nazi. So you just never know what's going to click. You know, I took a mentee to the library for lack of something to do one day. Turned out they had a bonsai exhibit. Guess what that mentee does today? Okay, so you just never know.
So are they still in the correctional facility when you're being mentee for them?
There's 2 parts of their work furlough program. One part is called pre-release, where they're still living at Kapiolani, but they're allowed out on daily passes Monday through Friday from 10 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock to go do their job search and get their IDs and things like that. Then there comes a time when everything is in place, where they have the job, they have the savings account, they've identified a clean and sober living environment that has been inspected and approved, then they transition into community custody status. And the mentor works with them until that person becomes paroled.
I think it's important that you bring up the fact that males are asked to lead it and females to do it.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Oh, very good.
Can I ask one more question real quick? When you're a mentor or a mentee in court services, do you have to share a religious aspect along with that? Because I know some people may not
Not at
have
all. Not at all.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for all your important questions about the Hope Services program. I think we've gained a lot of insight from what we've shared today, and I think we've all realized the importance of getting involved in this kind of a program and how it can benefit the community as well as enrich our own lives. I would encourage anybody who's interested to explore Toastmasters, because when you start coming to Toastmasters, you're going to learn how to speak effectively, you get over your stage fright, and anybody that wants to improve their life in any way can find their personal little pathway there through Toastmasters. So I want to thank everybody who participated today for their evaluations, questions, sharing he'll help match you up with whatever skills he sees that you have. This time we're going to conclude this portion of the program. Anybody who's interested in staying can watch the rest of what we do as Toastmasters to evaluate, but we're going to take a 1-minute break so we can reshuffle and get comfortable before moving forward. Okay, thank you.
If you have program brochures and flyers, especially if anybody has access to a bulletin, community bulletin board, if you could post our information, that would be a huge, huge way to contribute to the program.
Okay.
I'm going to interject really quickly here. I not let you all know that Sharon is an advanced communicator gold level speaker. So we're pleased to have her show off her talents today. And again, to point out the materials here about hope that we can all take home and add to it. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you so much.